Are you ready for our workshop? Okay, I love your level of energy there. I want to ask a little bit more of everybody else. Are you ready for our workshop? Awesome. Please welcome to the stage. He has his own SEO agency, and he is here to tell us all about how to do SEO in 2024 and in the world of AI. Please welcome Jeff Oxford.
All right. Hey, everybody. How are we doing today? Awesome. So you might notice I have a link to the slides here. We're going to be going into a lot of great information. I have a lot to share with you. It's going to be super actionable, so I hope you're as excited as I am. So let's just jump into it. I've worked with a lot of different businesses and websites over the years, and unfortunately, one trend I see far too often is you check analytics, you check Ahrefs or SEMrush, and traffic is either flat or worse off, it might even be declining. Anybody experienced this recently? Yeah, it's not a fun place to be in. My goal is to give you the tricks, techniques, and tactics so that your blog can look like this. This is an actual client I've been working with, and everything I did for them, I'm going to open the hood and show you exactly how you can do the same thing for your blog. So before we jump into it, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Everyone wants to know ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Bard, AI. How is this going to impact SEO? How is this going to impact content production? It can be a little bit scary. So one question I get asked a lot is, what's Google's stance on AI content? Can I create AI content? Am I going to get penalized? Does it rank as well as human content? Anyone ever wondered this before? Well, luckily, Google has made it crystal clear their stance on AI content. About 1 year ago, they published on their website their official stance on AI content. And in this article, they made it super clear. They had an FAQ section that said this: is AI content against Google search guidelines? The answer, and I quote, appropriate use of AI or automation is not against our guidelines. This means that it's not used to generate content primarily to manipulate search rankings, which is against our spam policy. But they go a step further. The next question is, why not just ban AI content? And what they say here is, automation has long been used in publishing to create useful content. AI can assist with and generate useful content in new and exciting ways. So in short, Google has given us the green light on AI content. There's nothing wrong with using AI content. It's a tool. What's more important is the final piece of content that you're publishing. So think of AI more as a starting point than the end point. And I'll give you an example of what not to do with AI content and then what to do with AI content. So this is what you shouldn't do. There was this site called Conch House, and they used AI to publish over 250,000 articles in just a few months. We're talking straight ChatGPT to WordPress, no human review, publishing. Now the scary part is it worked extremely well. They started jumping on page one for all these big keywords. You know, probiotic multi-enzyme gets searched over 300,000 times per month. They're on page one. Electric toothbrush heads get ranking number 2, get searched 300,000 times on page 1. Google, what's going on? You're supposed to catch these things. Well, eventually they did, and they went from getting around 7 million visits per month to plummeting. They fell off the face of the earth. I think the entire site's de-indexed now. So Google is catching on to this, but the biggest mistake they made is they went from straight publishing, or they went from straight AI content to publishing without any human intervention. So on the flip side, I'll show you a good example of AI content. Bankrate.com. It's a very popular personal finance site, and on a lot of their articles now, it will say written by Bankrate. You drill in a little deeper, it's literally saying that this article was generated using automation technology. They're open about it. They are using AI in their content. Well, I checked this article, and one thing you might notice is it's not just ChatGPT to publishing. It says who's it's edited by. It has industry experts coming in, adding their takeaways, improving the content, adding their insights. So they're using AI as a starting point, and then they're having humans come in, fact check, improve, and make sure it has some value. So how is Bankrate doing with their AI content? Well, I looked around the web. I found about 100 of these articles that were written by AI. I aggregated the traffic together. This is how they're performing. So when you use AI the right way, when you have that human intervention, it can work extremely well. So not only do they get more traffic, but look at that, it's staying up there. They're not losing it. So in short, what about that whole AI thing? Well, Google is fine with AI content. There's nothing wrong with it. Yes, AI content can rank very well, but, and this is a big but, you'll need to make sure your AI content is awesome and stands out. So to sum it up, AI is the starting point, not the end point. Make sure you're still checking and improving the content. And I'll give you some actionable tips on how you can do this with your content at the end of the session. So here's our plan of attack for today. I want to teach you guys how you can choose a winning topic for your blogging or content marketing efforts. I then want to teach you exactly how you can optimize that content so it ranks very well in search engines. And then I want to show you how you make your content stand out. AI has made it cheaper, faster, and easier to create content than ever before. So you're now competing with way more articles. You need to put more love into your content, otherwise it's just not going to perform well. So let's just jump into it. We're going to start with the first section, which is how to choose a winning topic. Now, from my experience doing content marketing, working with lots of businesses over the years, this is hands down the most important step of the process. So many content marketing efforts and blogging efforts fail because they're choosing keywords that either no one's searching for, that don't have much popularity, or they're just so competitive, even if it is a popular keyword, you have no chance of ranking for that. So this step is critical, and I'm going to show you how you can choose topics that are going to set you up for success. So there's 3 ingredients that go into choosing a great topic. High search volume, low competition, but you also want to have conversion potential. So we'll start with the first one, which is high search volume. So to find search volume, we're going to need to use some tools. You know, in the SEO world, we love tools. I'm sure in the social media world, you guys too. There's 2 ways you can do this. I recommend either Google Keyword Planner. This is a free option. If you're on a budget and you just want to dip your toe into it, Google Keyword Planner is a great option. If you want to really invest in your content marketing and blogging efforts, I'd highly recommend a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush. I mean, they're pretty interchangeable. You can't go wrong with either. Me personally, I like to use Ahrefs, and they have this great tool called the Keyword Explorer that will show you all the search volume for any keyword you want. So it doesn't really matter if you're using Google Keyword Planner or if you're using Ahrefs Keyword Explorer. You just need to have some type of tool that's showing you the search popularity of your keywords and topics so that you can choose keywords and topics that people are actually searching for and can drive more traffic to your blog. Okay, so we now have a method to find keywords and topics with high search volume. Now we want to find topics that aren't too competitive. And in order to understand competition, we first have to talk about backlinks. So what is a backlink? In short, a backlink is just a hyperlink from another external website to your website. So in this case, it looks like socialmediaexaminer.com has a great backlink from HubSpot.com. They're linking back to their article, 4 major Instagram changes to know about, or in 2022, you need to know about. So this is a backlink. Now, why in the SEO world do we go on and on and on about backlinks? We love talking about backlinks. The reason is because backlinks are one of the most important ranking factors in Google. So a few years ago, there was a big industry study where they looked at about 12 million different keywords to try and reverse engineer why do some sites rank better than others. And they looked at all these factors, site speed, keyword usage, anything you can think of. And what they found, which was really interesting, there was a huge correlation between the number of backlinks and rankings. So in this graph, on the y-axis, we have the sites ranking on page 1, positions 1 through 10. And on the x-axis, we have how much traffic they're getting in search results. The correlation is clear. As you get more backlinks, you rank better. And the sites ranking in position 1 had the most backlinks. The sites ranking in position 2 had the second most backlinks, and so on. So the takeaway from all this, and what you need to know, more backlinks equals better rankings. Huge oversimplification, but in general, the more backlinks you get, the better your website's going to rank in search engines. So now that we understand how important backlinks are, we're prepared to understand keyword competition. So the way we assess how competitive a keyword is in the world of SEO is we want to see what kind of sites and pages are ranking in page 1. So on the left-hand side, we have the search results for the keyword, how many people use TikTok. On the right-hand side, we have the search results for how to pin a comment on TikTok. Two very different keywords. And you can see on the left, look at how many backlinks these pages have. We're talking hundreds, if not thousands of backlinks going to the sites ranking on page 1. If we wanted to rank for this keyword, we would also need to have hundreds, if not thousands of backlinks. That's going to take years, it's going to take thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. It's going to be a huge investment, and for most sites and business owners, it's probably not going to be worth it. Look on the other side, how to pin a comment on TikTok. Most of the sites ranking on page 1 don't have a single backlink. That means if we create a piece of content, there's a good chance that we can rank well, assuming the content's good, that we can rank well without a single backlink. And the pages that do have a backlink, it's just 1 or 2 or 3. This is a perfect example of the type of keyword we want to go after. And finding these opportunities that have high search volume, that have low competition, is going to set you up for success so that when you are creating content, you actually have a shot of ranking for that keyword. Ahrefs helps with this. This is the tool I mentioned earlier. So they actually have a filter, and SEMrush has the same thing too. They have a metric called keyword difficulty. And you can go in, add a filter, and you can say, hey, just show me the lowest competition keywords that have a difficulty below 10. So that's the sweet spot. If it's a keyword difficulty below 10, it's going to be super easy to rank for. If you have a keyword difficulty 10 to 30, now we're medium difficulty, 30 to 70 is going to be hard, and anything above 70 is going to be very difficult to rank for and probably isn't worth going after. So the takeaway here is look for low difficulty keywords, and keyword difficulty is assessed by seeing how many backlinks are going to the pages on page 1. And the last ingredient to a great topic, and this is something that's skipped over a lot, is conversion potential. How many people have a blog and they got lots of traffic, but it's not driving any sales or conversions? It's just, yeah, I can see quite a few hands here. And that's because so many blogging efforts are just focused on traffic, but not conversions. We want to keep the end goal in mind. So let's go back to Marketing 101 for a second. Let's talk about the buyer's journey. We have the awareness stage, the interest stage, consideration, and decision. And for each of these stages, there's different types of keywords someone might use to come to the website or to become a customer. And for this example, let's pretend for a second we're the content marketing team for this awesome Social Media Marketing World Conference, and we want to create content to get people to sign up and get tickets. So in the awareness stage, we might see keywords that indicate the person is a social media user. Things like how to repost on TikTok, how to go live on TikTok, how to block someone on TikTok. It's very clear that they're using social media, but it's uncertain. Are they a social media professional? Are they a consultant? Are they even qualified for a great conference like this? It's only when we go in the interest section that now we see topics like TikTok analytics, TikTok growth strategy, TikTok organic marketing. Just based on these keywords, it's clear that whoever's searching that is likely a social media consultant. And this is the kind of people they would want to get in front of. We go a little bit further to the consideration stage, we might see keywords like social media courses, social media training, social media conferences. These are great keywords that socialmediaexaminer.com would want to have content about to try to capture those people that are further down in the funnel and try to get them to come to social media marketing world. And then lastly, in the decision stage, they've already made up their mind. They already know they want to come to this great conference. There we're going to see keywords like social media marketing tickets, discounts, testimonials. It's very clear, whoever's searching this keyword, they made up their mind. They're a social media expert, they're looking for more training, they're looking for conferences, and we want to get in front of them too. So I see a lot of people spend way too much time in the awareness stage. They're creating content that's relevant but has zero conversion potential to begin with. What I recommend is spend most of your efforts in this middle stage, middle of the funnel. You want to be targeting people in the interest stage or the consideration stage where, based on the keywords, there's clear search intent that they are looking for your product or your service that they're likely going to possibly turn into a lead. So very important, make sure with your content marketing efforts that you're focused on the right part of the buyer's journey. So to sum up, how do you find a winning topic? You want to find topics that have high search volume, where the sites ranking on page 1 have minimal backlinks. The lower the better. And lastly, find topics that have high conversion potential, where they have the ability to generate leads or revenue or sales, whatever that might mean for your business. So we're a third of the way done. Next, we're going to talk about creating content that ranks. Before we go into that, does anyone have any questions about topic selection before we start talking about optimizing content? Yes?
Does it matter where your backlinks live? Like the quality of where the backlink have a blog on a restaurant and they put it on their site? Does it matter?
Great question. So if you didn't hear it, the question is, does the backlinks you're getting from the site, does the quality of those backlinks matter? Like if you get a link from HubSpot versus somebody started a blog last week, what's the difference there? So the quality does matter, or the authority, as you might hear used a lot, matter. Yes, it does. So like if you're trying to increase your rankings, if you're getting links from authoritative websites, Social Media Examiner, HubSpot, Market Muse, whatever big sites are out there, that's going to have a much stronger impact on your rankings. And coincidentally, if you're trying to assess keyword competition, if the site's ranking on page 1, maybe they only have 5, 10, 20 backlinks, but if all those backlinks are from really authoritative sources, that's going to be a lot more competitive. So that's why I like that Hrefs keyword difficulty score. It factors in not just the quality of backlinks, but also the authoritativeness of every backlink. Any other questions? Yes? Very good question. The old paying for backlinks. Yes. The interesting part, paying for backlinks still works. Google has a difficult time assessing if a backlink's paid or not. So time and time again, we see paid backlinks work very, very well. But Google can tell a link farm. So like if a site is linking to you, but they're also linking to like shady pharma sites or shady diet pill sites, or there's a lot of different marijuana, CBD, casino, betting. If they're also linking to that, it's probably a sign that you don't want to link from them. So it's less important about are you paying for a link, and more important about who is this website also linking to, and that's kind of a clear footprint of whether or not you want them to link to you as well. Maybe one more question. Yeah.
So you talked about a lot of people spending too much time in the awareness content, and I found for myself, conversion content feels like where there's the most keyword competition, and there's the most backlinks going on.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we start gravitating for this awareness content because that's where there's the least amount of competition. Is what you're saying, if you're wanting to go after those conversion keywords, spend more time focusing on building backlinks versus just writing more content?
Great question. So if you couldn't hear, the question is, if we go back to the funnel here, and the awareness stage, typically this is, going to be lower competition. As you get to those keywords that have the conversion potential, usually they're going to be more difficult. Absolutely true. What I'd recommend is even going more long tail. So maybe instead of TikTok analytics, you're doing TikTok analytics for beginners. Or maybe instead of TikTok growth strategy, it's TikTok growth strategy B2B. So you just keep going deeper and deeper until you find those keywords that have less competition. All right, so don't worry, we'll still have some Q&A at the very end if you didn't get your question answered. But let's talk about the next part, creating content that ranks. Something I'm very interested in, very passionate about. For the last few years, I've probably spent way too much time reading Google patents. Yes, I'm an SEO nerd like that. I would not recommend it. This is not the best reading material. It has all these fun diagrams that look like this. But there's something interesting. These patents have some nuggets about how Google works. Because if you're going to patent something, you have to explain a little bit about what you're patenting. So an SEO nerd like myself who's trying to reverse engineer Google, I love to go in and see what I can find. And what I'm going to share with you today is a summary of everything I've learned from looking at way too many Google patents, so you don't have to. And we're going to go through it step by step. So if you're a beginner, you're going to learn a lot. If you're advanced, I guarantee you're still going to learn a lot. So let's jump in here. Have you ever seen those videos like quantum mechanics in 5 levels? We're going to take a similar approach. We're going to really break this down and talk about the 5 levels of content optimization. Level 1, we're going to see what do most bloggers know about optimizing content. Level 2, what does a junior SEO know when it comes to optimizing content? How would an SEO expert optimize content and create content that ranks? What about an SEO guru? And last, we're going to go to the final level, which is Google engineer. So brace yourself. We're going to learn some fun stuff today. So we'll keep it simple to start out with. How would a blogger optimize content for search engines? The answer is going to be keyword usage, using the right keywords in the content. So pretty straightforward. This might be a review for a lot of you guys, but when it comes to keyword placement, let's say you're writing an article about organic protein powder. The higher up on the page you put your keyword, the better it's going to rank. So whatever your target keyword is, try to get it in at least the first or second sentence. That's going to have the maximum impact on your rankings. Next, we want to use both plural and singular versions of that keyword. So if we're having organic protein powder, singular, we also want to mention organic protein powders. And then the next thing is use synonyms. So maybe instead of just using organic protein powder, maybe we're using natural protein powder. These are just additional things you can do to make your content more relevant. And lastly, avoid keyword stuffing. Don't worry about putting your keyword in there every sentence, every paragraph. My biggest tip is just write naturally. And if you write naturally, you'll find that you're naturally using these variations and plural and singular. So don't stress about keyword usage. Focus on the quality of the content you're producing. Okay, we're already at level 2. Congratulations, everybody. Now we're going to learn how would a junior SEO optimize a page. Let's say they graduated with their degree in marketing, they just finished their internship, they just started working for their SEO agency. What kind of stuff are they going to be doing to optimize content? The answer is related keywords. So the way I want to explain the importance of related keywords is with a quick example. Let's say Google comes across an article titled Top 10 Shades for Sale. How is Google, a search engine, going to know if the article is about window shades or sunglasses? Well, the answer is the related keywords. So for example, if they come across a page about window shades, they're going to see keywords like living room, pull down, bedroom, roller, wood, motorized. On the flip side, if they came across an article about sunglasses, you're going to see keywords like black, Ray-Ban, Oakley, aviator, men's, women's. So the use of related keywords can be a very clear signal to what is the page about, and it helps Google better understand your content. Now you might be wondering, where do I find these related keywords? What related keywords should I be using in the content? There's actually a few tricks that make this very easy. One is just using Google. If you put your keyword into Google, you scroll down on page 1, they're going to have these nice little related searches boxes. And right there, we have some great keywords like indoor window shades, window roller shades, Roman shades. These are all great keywords you could use into your article about window shades that can help your rankings. But there's another source from Google that I like even more. And for that, Google image search. You might have seen these before. You search a keyword into Google, they give you this nice refinement bar. Google's already telling you what related keywords they've identified for your topic or for your keyword. So it's right there for the taking. Here we got keywords like modern, living room, bedroom, outside, roller, kitchen. Great related keywords to use in our content about window shades. So pro tip, if you want to do it like myself and a lot of other SEO experts, there's a great tool we use called Surfer SEO. I'm not affiliated with them. I've just tried a lot of content optimization tools, and this one's hands down my favorite. It's $89 a month, but here's why it's so powerful. So what it will do is for any keyword, it will take the content from every site ranking in the top 20 search results. So page 1 and page 2. It's going to go to each one. It's going to take all their content. It's going to do some advanced statistical calculations and analysis. And it's going to identify the exact keywords that the higher ranking competitors are using that you're not using in your content. But the best part is it integrates directly with Google Docs. So if I had to guess, most of you are creating content using Google Docs. Maybe you have in-house writers or freelance writers, or you're doing it yourself. So what's great about this is you don't have to change your workflow process at all. You just need your writers or your editors to install the Surf for SEO extension, and you're going to get those keyword recommendations right within Google Docs. You don't have to go anywhere else. It's already done for you. So if you want to, just a quick and easy way to add a level of SEO optimization to your blog content, Surf for SEO is probably one of the best ways to do that. Not only are the keyword recommendations great, but it also integrates very well with Google Docs and can help streamline the process. All right, we are now junior SEOs, but we're going to keep going. We want to see SEO experts. How do they optimize content? And for this, we're going to talk about featured snippet optimization. We're starting to use some more technical words, so don't worry, we're going to go through this step by step. So featured snippets. What are featured snippets? Chances are you've seen these before when you're doing your Google searches. They show up at the top of Google search results, and it's Google's way of answering the question or query right away. They want to do their best to give you the best user experience possible and give you at least some type of answer without you having to click on any listings. Now, the reason featured snippets are so valuable is first off, they show up at the very top of the search results. So you can leapfrog your entire competition, go to position 1 if you're able to show up in this featured snippet. But these featured snippets account for about 35% of all traffic from Google. Think about that. 1 in every 3 clicks from Google is one of these featured snippets. So if you can get your content to show up in these featured snippets, it can have a huge impact on your traffic. So how do we get our content to show up in featured snippets? What can we do? Well, there's 4 simple steps on how you can get your content to show up in these featured snippets. First is we want to find keywords where our website is eligible to show up within the featured snippet. First thing we have to do is, does the keyword even have a featured snippet showing up? So for this, you can search your keyword. Is there a featured snippet there? Yes, continue. If not, got to find another keyword. Hrefs, which is the tool I've been mentioning a few times, makes this really easy. So you can literally just add a filter and say, hey, show me every single keyword where a featured snippet's showing up. It takes no time at all. Makes it really easy to find these opportunities. So first step, find a keyword that has a featured snippet. Next, you want to find keywords where you're already ranking the top 10 results. If you're not ranking top 10, you are not eligible to show up in the featured snippet. So make sure not only does the keyword have a featured snippet in place, but make sure you're already ranking the top 10 positions. And then last thing, pretty straightforward, look for opportunities where you're not already in the featured snippet. So here what we're doing is we're looking at Social Media Examiner's rankings. We can see keywords where a featured snippet's showing up. And looks like there's a few here where they're ranking on page 1, but they haven't captured that featured snippet yet. So these are the types of keywords they would want to go after and start capturing those featured snippets to get as much traffic as possible. So we found our eligible keywords. Now we need to start making some tweaks and changes to our content so we can capture those featured snippets. First thing you want to do is turn your keyword into a question and use that question as a subheading. So if we want to show up in the featured snippet for Instagram carousel, and maybe we have a great article about what Instagram carousels are, we want to have a subheading that says, what is an Instagram carousel? Pretty straightforward. So we're first having the keyword as a subheading, and we're having that subheading in the form of a question. Next, immediately, before the very first character, we want to answer what that question is. So we're creating this question-answer relationship. We have the question as a subheading, and right away we're providing an exact, precise answer. So that's one thing they're doing very well here, and that's why Plannable.io has the featured snippet, because they have that question as subheading, and right away they're providing a nice, concise answer. And when it comes to the answer itself, you want to provide a very concise answer first, and then expand on any nuances. So I'll give you a bad example. What you don't want to say is something like, Instagram carousels were first introduced in 2017. The goal was to provide users and brands with a new way to express themselves and tell their stories in a more comprehensive, engaging format. It doesn't tell me I can't picture it. What is an Instagram carousel? You got to be more concise. And Plannable.io, the example that we just saw, they're doing this the right way. Right away, they say, on Instagram, a carousel post is a set of up to 10 images that a user can swipe through, like a slideshow, but all on a single post. So you want to get straight to the point. Chances are you have a lot to say about whatever topic or keyword it is. That's fine, go into it. But the very first opening sentence, opening paragraph, make sure you have a very concise answer. One other thing you need to know about these featured snippets, you have a word count limit of about 40 to 60 words. So when you have your question as a subheading, right away for those next 40 to 60 words, that's where you want to have this concise answer. That's your featured snippet bait, where you want to bait the search engines to taking your great explanation of the content and pull that into the featured snippet. So in summary, when you're doing featured snippet optimization, you want to look for keywords that already have a featured snippet where you're ranking on page 1. You want to then use questions in your subheadings. Right away, you want to provide an answer. And then lastly, make sure that answer you provide is concise, and then expand on any nuances or any other details you want to go after. So that's the gist of how you get your content to show up in those featured snippets, which opens the door for a lot more traffic to your blogging efforts. We're almost there. Level 4, SEO guru. Okay, this is going to take a little prep work, so let me set the stage for a second. Let's pretend it's 2010. Steve Jobs just released the iPad. For some reason, Lady Gaga wore a meat suit to the Video Music Awards. And believe it or not, Instagram was first released. What a magical time it was indeed. Pretend for a minute that you are Eric Schmidt. At the time, you were the CEO of Google. And there's one thing you know. You know your entire business, your company's revenue, all comes from these paid sponsored results at the top of Google. But you also know people are only going to use your product, they're only going to use Google if these free organic listings provide good information and good listings. So there's two types of keywords. There's what we call head keywords and long tail keywords. Head keywords are very simple, short, to the point. Things like weight loss, Bitcoin, SEO, Michael Jordan. These are the keywords Google's really good at finding relevant pages and providing good content and good pages to. What about long tail keywords? This is where we get a little more specific. Things like how to lose belly fat, what can I buy with Bitcoin, how much does SEO cost, what is the height of Michael Jordan? They're a lot more specific. And back in 2010, Google really struggled with some of these long tail specific keywords. I mean, think back, who remembers having to click on page 2, having to retype your keyword multiple times in different ways, maybe even going to Ask Jeeves or Dogpile to see if you can get something to work? Yeah, the glory days. Yeah, so Google struggled with this, and there's a reason for it. Let's take a keyword like Michael Jordan, for example. So behind the scenes, when a user searches Michael Jordan, Google's going all around the web, checking its index, and wants to find every single page that mentions the keyword Michael Jordan. And sure enough, it finds a page like Wikipedia, and very easy, boom, let's have Wikipedia rank at the top of search results. Pretty straightforward. But what if we have a long tail keyword that's a little more specific? Something like, what is the height of Michael Jordan? So it's more specific, and that same Wikipedia page doesn't mention that keyword at all. There's no mention of, in quotes, what is the height of Michael Jordan? So how does Google know which page to rank for that keyword? In fact, at the time, there's not a single web page that mentions that exact phrase, what is the height of Michael Jordan? So this was a problem. They can't just look for relevant pages and check the keywords and match that up with your query. They had to do something different. They had to move away from matching keywords and pages and move towards understanding our world and the relationship between things. So what do I mean by that? What do I mean understanding our world and the relationship between things? Well, for example, they would have to know that dogs are a type of animals, that cows are also a type of animal, that cows eat herbs, that herbs are plants, and both plants and animals are living things. They need to understand these relationships between different things in our world and the interactions. And to that extent, they announced the knowledge graph. The knowledge graph back in 2012 was this massive database of every single relationship they can think of. They wanted to get every person, place, thing in there and know all the relationships and attributes between everything. So going back to our example, animals, dogs, cows, plants, herbs, all these things are what we call an entity. It's a person, place, a thing, anything. An entity could be a person, a business, a city, a sport, a plant, a song, a movie. Anything you can think of, that's essentially an entity or a node in Google's knowledge graph. And again, the knowledge graph is this massive database that keeps track of all these relationships and how they're all connected. So what might the knowledge graph look like for an entity like Michael Jordan? Well, they're probably going to want to know Michael Jordan's team was the Chicago Bulls. They're probably going to want to know his birth date was February 17th, 1963. They'll want to know his height, his position, where he was born. This is just a snapshot of some of the related entities to Michael Jordan. Chicago Bulls, shooting guard, New York. So the takeaway from this step, don't just use related content, or don't just use related keywords in your content, make sure you're also using related entities, because this is what Google's doing to assess content. So there's a few steps that you can use to find related entities and use it in your content. First one, you want to search your keyword or topic into Google. So I gained a few pounds over the holidays. Let's say I want to get some six-pack abs. I can go into Google, search how to get a six-pack. Next thing I'm going to do, I want to click on the very first listing. So in this case, we have a Healthline article that's all about six-pack abs, what they mean, and how to get them. I'm then going to go to this article. It has all this great information. I'm going to copy everything. I'm going to paste it into this free tool by Google called the Natural Language Tool. This is a very advanced tool. It's completely free. You can see the link below. And what this tool will do, it will analyze my content, or analyze any content, and tell you every single entity that it found that's in its knowledge graph. So they're going to do all the hard work for you. They're going to parse the content and tell you what related entities you should be using in your content. So this is what it looks like. If I hit analyze, I get this great report that looks something like this. It's parsed through all the information in about a few seconds, and I can see if I wanted to write an article about how to get a six-pack, I should probably use keywords like muscles, fat, genetics, deficit, injuries, HIIT, body fat percentage. These are all related entities that Google knows about that we probably want to use in our content. Okay, almost there. So you all have the knowledge of an SEO guru by now. Takeaway is we want to use those related entities in our content, and that's going to help us rank better. So just to make sure we haven't lost anyone, let's just do a quick recap of what we learned. So back in 2010, quality of the search results for long-tail queries were very poor. And Google had trouble just matching keywords with pages. It wasn't a very effective way to finding relevant pages to rank in search results for these long-tail keywords. The solution, Google created this knowledge graph, which is a massive database of all these relationships between entities to understand our world. Google knows the relationship between all these objects and entities, and we know that if we use these related entities in our content, it can help improve our rankings. Okay, so let's see if we can knock out this last level here. Going back to the entity of Michael Jordan, we just talked about a few related entities and a few relationships around Michael Jordan as an entity. But this is just a snapshot. I mean, in Google's knowledge base, in Google's knowledge graph, there's going to be dozens, if not hundreds, of related entities for Michael Jordan. They want to know, spouse, kids, occupation, nickname, head coach, number. It goes on and on and on and on. There's a lot. In fact, and this is just Michael Jordan. What about all the other entities and all the other things in our world that Google might have in their knowledge graph? So Google told us that their knowledge graph, this massive database of all this information, has 500 billion facts about 5 billion entities. That's massive. And you would literally need a team of thousands, if not tens of thousands of people working nonstop to populate this massive database, to constantly update an index. It's just not scalable. There's no way you could manually maintain such a large database of all this information about our world. So what was their solution to this? Natural language processing, NLP for short. So what is NLP? What is natural language processing? Essentially, this is the use of artificial intelligence to read and understand content just like a human would. So I'll give you an example of this. If I go back to that same Google natural language tool, I can put in the keyword, the dog is white. And I can see that Google's showing me the relationship between these words. They're showing me exactly how they understand and how they parse content. They know that dog is a subject. They know that white is the adjective describing dog. You know, they can map it out. It's very clear that Google can understand a relationship between things. So how does natural language processing tie into this whole knowledge graph we've been talking about? Well, let's go back to that Wikipedia page about Michael Jordan. Let's see how Google might use natural language processing to populate their knowledge graph. So in just this first paragraph, we have Michael Jordan, born February 17th, 1963, also known by his initials MJ, is American businessman, former basketball player. He played 15 seasons in the NBA, winning 6 NBA championships with the Chicago Bulls. Jordan is the principal owner and chairman of the Charlotte Hornets and 23XI Racing in the NASCAR Cup Series. So just in that first paragraph, look at how much information Google is able to extract to help populate their database, their knowledge graph. So the takeaway for this last level of creating content that ranks, write in a way that Google can understand. Yeah, I'm going to give you exact tips on how you can do this, but the takeaway is we need to write so Google can extract information from our content. Because if we're not writing the right way, if we're not writing for both users and simple enough for machines, it's going to be really hard for our content to rank well. So going back to this example, the dog is white. Very clear hierarchy, very clear structure. You can see the relationships very easily. But what if instead of writing in a simple, the dog is white way, what if instead I said, there is a dog and its color is white? Well, now it's starting to look a little messy. It's a little more difficult for a machine to gauge all the relationships between these words. So you can see just by writing in a more simple, concise way, it's going to be easier for search engines to understand our content, and therefore it's going to be easier for us to rank well. So the better Google can extract information from your content, the better it's going to rank. I'm going to share 10 steps and 10 tips on how you can write content in a way that's easier for search engines to understand your content. But I have a quick disclaimer. You know, a lot of times us SEOs, we get our SEO blinders on and we only look at how things benefit SEO and nothing else. I want to say that these tips and suggestions I'm going to share, this is just for maximum SEO benefit. And I'll fully admit, SEO is just one piece of the bigger picture. You know, we don't want to forget about brand and voice and style and tone. And you might have a certain writing style that works really good for your brand, and I want you to keep doing that. Don't be afraid to break these rules I'm about to share. This is just purely if you want to go all on an SEO, what that might look like. Okay, so now that's out of the way, let's start diving in on how you can write in a way that search engines can understand to help with your rankings. Number one, make sure your content is accurate. If you're writing an article about our solar system, and you mention that the Earth is flat, and Google sees that 99% of other articles mention the Earth is round, you'll have no shot at ranking. So it doesn't matter how well optimized your content is, it doesn't matter how many backlinks you have, if Google sees that your information is inconsistent with other sources around the web, you've shot yourself in the foot and you're not going to rank well. This is especially important in the day of AI content. You know, it's nice to just get something from ChatGPT, make a few tweaks and publish it, but you really do need to fact check because all it takes is a few incorrect stats and some incorrect data, and there's no way your article is going to rank. So I can't stress enough how important having factually correct information is to getting your content to rank well. Number two, write in a Wikipedia style and tone. So this is where the disclaimer comes in. Maybe you have a brand voice and a style that works really well, keep it. If you're just writing to maximize your SEO and your organic rankings, Wikipedia does a lot of things right. There's a reason why they rank for almost every single keyword. It's because they're using a very neutral, professional tone. It's in a third person. They're citing facts, not opinions. It's very matter of fact. The content's very concise, and there's little to no fluff in any Wikipedia page. So if you're just looking for a general writing style that's SEO friendly, I'd recommend model Wikipedia. And me personally, if I'm using AI to create content, I always add a sentence saying, please write in a Wikipedia style and tone, because that right there is going to make it just a little more SEO friendly out of the gates and require less editing for yourself. All right, number 3, avoid a negative sentiment. For whatever reason, content with a negative sentiment does not rank as well as content with a neutral or positive sentiment. The screenshot you're seeing on the right-hand side, it's back from that same free Google tool we're talking about, Google's natural language tool, and they will tell you exactly from -1 to +1, what's the sentiment of any content. So if we have something like, training your dog can be painful and annoying. If training your dog drives you crazy, then this guide is for you. Well, that has a very negative sentiment. That's just not going to rank as well as if it was neutral or positive. So what would be a better way of writing this opening sentence? You can easily train your dog in the following steps. Neutral, perfect, and we can see here that this has a slightly positive sentiment. So if you're unsure, you can take your content, paste it directly into this Google natural language tool, and it will give you a line-by-line sentiment analysis, completely free, on which parts are neutral, positive, or negative. And then you can make any adjustments as necessary. Number 4, minimize intros. So this goes against what we learned in high school. Whatever happened to the 5-paragraph essay format? You're supposed to have the intro. You're supposed to have your conclusion. Well, that works great for essays, but I mean, think about it. How do you guys browse the web when you're looking for information? Are you really reading every single word on that article? Are you reading the entire intro? Or are you skimming the subheadings, looking for the information you need, and moving on? If I had to guess, it's probably the latter. Intros feel good, you're typing it, it feels like you're doing the right thing, but if you think about it, that's not necessarily how people are consuming content in 2024. So you can still have an intro, keep it concise, keep it to the point, and I have an example here. So if sticking with the whole dog training example, what we'd want to avoid is something like this. Are you struggling to train your dog effectively? Effectively training your dog can save you time and help strengthen the bond between you and your furry companion. Whether you've trained multiple dogs or an absolute beginner, in this guide you'll learn everything you need to know about how to train your dog effectively. There are 3 common methods to train your dog, etc. So you could kind of skip this entire part and just jump straight into, in this guide you'll learn everything you need to know on how to train your dog effectively, and just jump right into it. This also provides a better user experience. People want to get to the meat of the article. They don't want this big fluffy intro that you spent way too much time trying to think of what to put in there. They want to get straight to the meat of it. So tip number 4, minimize your intros. Number 5, forget about word count. It's not a ranking factor. Yeah, a lot of people are confused right now. Let me explain. So there is some correlation between more words and better rankings, but it's simply just correlation. They're not ranking because Google says this piece of content has 2,000 words and this one has 3,000. That's not it. Remember all the stuff we talked about Google extracting information? It's more about how much information can they extract and less about the raw number of words. So this comes straight from Google's patents. And within Google's patents, they have something called information gain score. What this is, it's a metric that Google uses to determine how much information can be gained from the article. The more questions you can answer, the more stats and data you can provide, the better your content's going to rank. But they have another term in their patent that I found very interesting. Gibberish score. Yes, it's actually called gibberish score. Gibberish score, it's a metric that compares the article's word count to the actual amount of information the article provides. Fluffy content that's not concise or rich in answers will receive a higher gibberish score and won't rank well. So please, please, please don't just pad your content, just put in fluff in there to hit that word count. It's not going to matter. In fact, it's going to work against you. Yes, question.
Is there a tool that measures?
There is not yet. I'm sure with AI there will be soon. Actually, I take that back. I have used ChatGPT to paste in content and say, give me a score 1 to 10 on how concise the content is. And I have found, you can tweak those prompts a bit, but ChatGPT can actually do a decent job of assessing how fluffy or how concise the content is.
Have you thought about just uploading all of Google's ChatGPT and then telling it to figure out how to form that score?
Yes, I did. I did it with the fine-tuning model. I haven't done it with a new custom GPT. When I did it before, the results weren't consistent enough. But it's worth doing. So yeah, if you didn't hear it, the question is there any tools to assess information gain score, gibberish score? Again, ChatGPT can work great. Just have a prompt like 1 to 10, how concise, how fluffy is the content, paste the content in, and it will tell you straight up. And I'll give you just kind of a visual example of this. Let's say you have 2 articles. Let's say one article is 5,000 words and another article is only 500 words. Well, in the 5,000 word article, let's say Google goes through it and it's just super fluffy content, and they're only able to extract 20 pieces of information. We'll say a hypothetical information extraction score of 0.4%. On the other hand, let's say you have an article that's only 500 words, and Google's able to extract 10 pieces of information. That would give it a theoretical, I made it up, information extraction score of 5%. So this is just conceptually what Google's doing. It's looking at how much information are they able to extract from your content versus what's the word count, and assess how much value does it provide, how concise is it, and how fluffy is it. So again, forget about word count, just focus on how much information, valuable information is in your content. Number 6, short sentence length. Sentences should be concise and as short as necessary. The longer the sentence, the more difficult it is for search engines to understand it. Think back to the dog is white versus there is a dog and its color is white. The more concise, the more straightforward it is, the easier it is for a machine to understand your content, to understand what you're trying to say, what the subject of the sentence is. So example here, instead of saying, while the intelligence of dog breeds can vary from one breed to another, the most intelligent dogs are border collies. That could be rewritten to just, the most intelligent dogs are border collies. Try to get to the point. Try to practice writing concisely, because that's essentially what people are looking for when they're reading your content. Similarly, one idea per sentence. So try to include just one idea per sentence, and definitely avoid run-on sentences. Search engines and machines, they're still struggling with run-on sentences to really understand what you're trying to say. So a bad example would be, FDA-approved N95 masks are the gold standard for personal protective equipment, relied upon by medical professionals, frontline essential workers, and consumers alike to protect people around them, as well as themselves from airborne contaminants and viruses. Way too much for one sentence. This could be easily broken up and rewritten to something like this. FDA-approved N95 masks are used by medical professionals, frontline essential workers, and consumers, period. They have strong protection against airborne contaminants and viruses. So again, break up those long run-on sentences and try to have just one idea for each sentence. Next, you want to be descriptive. Make sure you're not using things like stuff, things, items, etc. Whatever you're referring to, just write that out whenever possible. So if you're writing an article about vision boards, instead of saying a vision board should include items that help you accomplish your goals, be specific. Maybe use some related entities in the content. Things like a vision board should include photos, quotes, and text to help you accomplish your goals. So be descriptive, give search engines the information they need, and this can go a long way in helping your rankings. We got 2 more. Another one is minimizing pronouns. So it's much more effective to specifically name the object instead of using pronouns like they or it. So this is kind of similar to what we just talked about. Instead of saying something like, they require basic crafting tools like scissors, glue, and poster board, you want to have the subject. Vision boards require basic crafting tools like scissors, glue, and poster board. Pretty simple. Again, we're thinking about how would a machine read our content? What information would they need to properly take away what I'm trying to say? And the last example is minimize your analogies. So analogies in some cases can confuse search engines, since the subject of the analogy is usually different from the main focus of the article. So if we have in our dog training article something like, training your dog to sit is as easy as riding a bike with training wheels. Google's going to read this. Google is a machine. Google's going to wonder, wait a minute, is this about dog training or is this about riding a bike and training wheels? So again, purely from an SEO standpoint, if you have your SEO blinders on, you just want to do what's best for search engines, try to minimize your analogies because they can work against you and kind of throw off the general context of your article. So much better, take out those analogies, just say training your dog how to sit is easy. Perfect. Okay, we went through how to create content that ranks. I know that was a lot of information, like drinking from a fire hose. Anybody have any questions before we talk about the last part of making your content stand out?
Can we have people come up to the microphone just so that we can hear them on the online stream too?
How relevant would you say in 2024 having incredibly robust schema on every page is? Is that still a thing? Does it move the needle? How much time should we spend on that?
Yeah, great question. I would definitely put that in the speculation part of SEO. There's almost no correlation between article schema and ranking better. SEO nerds like myself, I hypothesize that Google wanted everyone to mark up all their data so they could use their big fancy machine learning algorithms to quickly see what the page is actually about, but we've never really seen that impact ranking. So don't worry about like having to have your SEO specialist do the perfect markup for every single page. The only place I really recommend it is if you have an e-commerce site, definitely do it on your product pages because that's going to show the star rating and the price and give you, a higher click-through rate. And then maybe organization schema on your homepage, which just tells search engines a little bit more about your business. So those are like the only two, but don't worry about marking up every article. You have nothing to lose if you do, but it's not worth like stressing it if you don't have it. Yeah.
The question on the topic here, can you recommend an average word count, at least for us? If you said that word count is not important.
Yes, great.
But give us an average word count. And then a question for previous session that you had. You said specifically that backlinks create higher ranking websites. How about backlinks that, for example, we could purchase from guest posts?
Yes.
A lot of companies are asking, and they don't necessarily directly relate to what's on our website, but they relate to a lot of different things.
Sure.
Is it still a good idea to buy these guest posts on volume?
Yes, that is a great question. So to your first point, I have very bad memory. What was the first one? Word count, that's right. Okay, so it's very subjective and it depends on the topic. Some topics, like if you have an article about how tall is Michael Jordan, that could be one paragraph. If you have an article with the history of Michael Jordan, it's going to be way longer. So the answer is it depends on the article, and if the best way to do it, and this is why I love Surf for SEO, is it will look at the word count of all the sites ranking on page 1, and it'll kind of gauge what range you want to be in with your content. So the short answer, it depends on your competition. See how much word count they are. You probably want to be in the same range, but again, it matters less about word count and more about covering as much unique information about the topic as possible. Second, as for backlinks, I could have an entire another presentation about like backlinks and risk factors. In short, be very careful when buying guest posts. We built a custom tool that uses all these different APIs and integrations to sniff out like guest post farms. So many of those people that are selling guest posts or backlinks for really, really cheap, yes, they're going to have good domain rating or authority metrics. Yes, they might even have good traffic metrics, but if you look one step deeper and see who else are these sites linking to, you're going to notice that they're linking to pharma sites, CBD sites, casino sites, and if me with my crappy little makeshift SEO tool can spot these link farms, I guarantee Google with all their PhDs can do so as well. So I'd be very careful about using guest posting services just because you could be spending a lot of money, not just for sites that aren't going to do anything, but in enough quantity that could hurt you. So link building is very tricky. try to take the more natural approach. It's almost something that I'd recommend, either doing it yourself or working with someone legitimate, so you don't put yourself at risk of getting hit with like a Google penalty. Yes, next question.
Very quickly, you mentioned under featured snippets, the subheads. Were you specifically talking H2 or does it matter?
H2 or H3. Typically, you don't want to go past that. But yeah, H2 or H3, depending on your article, and then right away have your concise answer. Any other questions before we get to the final? Yes?
To that point, if you have like an FAQ section at the bottom, that it kind of works for us, is that not the best way to do it?
I love having FAQ sections. So my only suggestion is don't repeat content. So if you already answered the question in the main article, you don't need to also have it as an FAQ. Google's going to do a better job pulling it from the article itself. But if there's some related information that you couldn't squeeze into your main article, definitely put it into an FAQ section. Yes?
I was just wondering what you would recommend for a backlink strategy.
What kind of website?
I've got a bunch of different clients, so a bunch of different.
Okay, well, the ones that guest posting, real estate. I'd say the ones that are universal, like guest posting can work, but you have to do it right. You want to find real blogs in the industry that work well. The most universal I'd say is guest posting, but don't just do crappy ones like you guys probably know who the real publications are in the industry. Build a relationship with them. Like here's a quick tip that I found works well. I'll find the top 50 most influential blogs for any industry. I'll then create a piece of content that will literally say top 50 blogs in real estate. I'll then reach out to each one and say, hey, I just want to let you know, I love what you're doing. You made our list. We featured you on our website. We linked back to your social media profiles and your website. We're not asking for anything. It's just a pure relationship building play. And then maybe a few weeks later, we have a piece of content that they might be interested in. Or maybe we pitch them a guest post. But we're already standing out from all those people that pitched them because we took the time to build the relationship and we gave them something before we asked for something. So there's a little quick tip that can work well. Yeah. One more question.
So does Google understand who the writer is? For example, if on the website we're going to write about Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley, does Google understand that the content is being created by a reputable writer on your website, or would you just say by this organization?
Right. What? Yeah, great question. So if you didn't hear, he's asking, can Google tell who the author is? The answer to that is not really. The SEO community is kind of divided on this. Some say like, oh yeah, Google can look at the how you write and like all this stuff, but then others are saying no, it doesn't make a difference. So the jury's still out on how much Google can tell who the author is. My guess, and maybe you guys have been doing digital marketing for a while, might have remembered when Google Plus was out, they had this weird rel equals author tag that everyone's trying to connect their articles to Google Plus. My theory is that they use that to understand like which articles were written by which authors, used all their advanced machine learning to try to figure out what's the correlation between authors. So they may have that technology in place, but I haven't really seen it manifested into anything in rankings. Okay, final question, then we'll finish this last part.
Yeah, just connected to the previous question. Can Google tell if your text was written by an AI, and if so, will you be penalized for that in terms of your rankings?
Yes, very good question. So you might have heard of tools like originality.ai is a big one. There's all these third-party tools that will like tell you what % of your content's AI written. Short answer, Google does not care. It could be 100% written. Google doesn't care. All they care about is the final product. What's the quality of the content? Is the information correct? Does it provide a good user experience? Does it have a high or a low bounce rate? That's what matters most. So it's less about what went into it and more about the final product. If you have any other questions, we'll do some FAQ at the end. We'll get to this last portion and then we'll answer any final questions. So on the subject of AI, this is a great segue, thank you. There's so much, AI has made it so cheap and easy to create content that if you want your content to rank, you have to make it stand out. People are creating more content than ever before. We're going to have to go a little bit further to rise above the sea of all endless content. So going back to our elephant in the room, Mr. ChatGPT here, or Gemini, or Bard. Oh, and I love it. This was created using AI, so thank you, AI, for this. Yeah, elephant stomping on articles. So Google created this published an article, which is all the guidelines on how you can kind of self-assess your content, what they're looking for in your content. It's guidelines on how to make sure your content is quality and provides value. So they have I want to say 30 questions here that you can ask yourself and say, does my content provide value? I have a link below. Again, you can download the slides, and I'll show you the link at the end if you want to see all the different tools and articles referenced throughout this presentation. But I want to share with you the main takeaways from this article that Google shared. The first one, and this goes back to information gain score. Try to use as much unique data, stats, and facts in your content. Try to make your content stand out. So think about it. If everyone's going to ChatGPT or Gemini Bard or any of these AI tools, all the data is coming from the same source. So one quick and easy way to make your content stand out and have unique information is by coming up with unique data. Google Trends is a great way to do this. Try to see what's trending, what are people searching for, what are they searching for by state or region, or what's increasing or decreasing. You can pull some interesting insights from Google Trends. Next, if you have an e-commerce site, you can use your own sales data, see which types of products are selling most, what brands are selling the most, and how that changes from state to state. You can create a survey, and if you have an email list, send it to your list. Ask questions about, who uses this product most, what are their hesitations, how do they feel about changes in the industry, whatever it might be. You can create a survey with something like SurveyMonkey, send it out, and now you got your own proprietary information. Next is you can ask industry experts for quotes, and then add those quotes in your content. So maybe you guys have heard of Help a Reporter, Haro. Great tool. Most people use it for getting links. In this case, we're on the other side of the equation. We want to put out the inquiry. We want to ask industry experts for quotes. So for example, maybe we're writing an article on budget, how to plan for a wedding on a budget. And we want to get quotes from personal finance experts and wedding planners. We can use Haro, put out a query, and we can get dozens of industry experts with quotes that we can easily just drop into our article with minimal effort. And the last is create your own statistics based on publicly available data. There are so many large data sets out there that are completely free. Statista, US Census Bureau, Gallup, Pew Research, Google Public Data Explorer, data.gov. These are all completely free. They have so much great information about demographic data, about economic data, public opinion. Whether it's you or a VA or an intern or whatever, poke around and see what interesting takeaways you can take related to your content and sprinkle some of those stats into your articles. Easy way to make your content have unique information that stands out above the competition. And one other thing, if you do these things, not only is that going to help your content rank better, but it's going to make it way easier for your content to naturally get backlinks from journalists. Journalists love linking to stats and quotes and things like that. And if you have stats in your content that no one else has, you're naturally going to find you're going to get backlinks. So that's another way you can gain backlinks to help with your rankings. Another way you can make your content stand out is add images. A lot of people are lazy. You just want to go to ChatGPT, get your content, put your featured image at the top that you made with Canva, and call it a day. Got to go a step further. You can either go on Fiverr and find a freelance graphic designer to help create some illustrations for you. Dolly 3 is creating some pretty good images too. Definitely test it out before you push it in there, but you can use AI to create images as long as they're helpful. So go a step further. Create some good images that are going to add value to your article. That's going to provide a good experience for your users. And this is from SEMrush. You can see they have this great article here, and they have little mini infographics that break it up. These are super helpful. And SEMrush, they have a database of hundreds of millions of keywords. And what they found is the more images an article has, typically the more traffic it gets. So there is some correlation with having more quality images and getting better rankings and traffic. But not just traffic, shares too. Typically, articles that have more images get shared more. Next thing is attribute articles to authors. So this kind of goes back to, can Google tell who the author is? The question is, The answer is maybe. You know, we don't know for sure they don't. So it's at least worth explaining who the author is, so whoever's reading your content, they know they can trust the information. They can know there's a person behind this. The days of these faceless blogs are kind of coming to an end. You know, people really want to trust the data, especially with all the AI content out there. How do they know if this is written by ChatGPT or someone who really knows what they're talking about, who can add that level of expertise? So again, make sure you're attributing your articles to authors, but don't just stop there. Make sure your author pages have a very robust profile. Talk about their background, their education, their industry experience, any awards they have. Why should you trust this person? You know, who's behind this? And especially today, there's so much misinformation out there. You want to make sure whoever's writing the content that you can trust them and you can see they have the background in there. So whether or not this is a ranking factor, it's good to have it in there just to build trust with users. And this can really, really help just overall trust, perceived value of your website. Last tip, you can use AI to fight AI. What do I mean by this? So remember this whole article I just mentioned where Google tells you all this information on how to have quality content and assess and make sure it provides good user experience and it's good for users? I mean, Google's giving us the handbook right here. If you follow everything they have in this article and assess your content, you're going to be doing just fine. So what I did, and what you guys can do too, copy the entire document, paste it into ChatGPT. Say, here's a list of questions from Google's helpful content guidelines to assess the quality of content. Paste everything from that article. Then, whatever article you're working on, copy all the content and paste that in there too. Evaluate the following article, 4 ways to use TikTok for business, and provide a list of specific recommendations on how to improve the article based on these guidelines. So we're taking all the content from Google's helpful guidelines, we're pasting it to ChatGPT, we're then giving it the article that we wanted to assess, and we get some really interesting recommendations that look like this. So it said, evaluating the article against Google's helpful content guidelines, here's specific recommendations for improvement. And I pulled this straight from Social Media Examiner's website. So the first thing we see, provide original insights. While the article outlines basic strategies for using TikTok for business, it could be improved by including original case studies or interviews with businesses that have successfully implemented these strategies. This will provide readers with unique insights and practical examples. And then it goes on further, comprehensive description. This section on creating content and engaging with TikTok's features are helpful, but the article could be expanded to provide more detailed guidance on each step. For example, tips on optimizing video descriptions or hashtags for better visibility could add value. And then it goes even further, substantial value, adding more in-depth analysis of TikTok's algorithm and how businesses can adapt their content strategies accordingly would offer substantial additional value. This could include expert commentary or data-backed strategies. So we can literally use AI to do all the hard work for us, to do all the heavy lifting. Just feed it whatever guidelines you want, run it against any article you want, and you'll have actionable insights on what you can do to make your content better. So to recap everything we went over today, first thing we learned, choose a winning topic. Use a tool like Google Keyword Explorer or Ahrefs to find keywords with high search volume, low competition where there's not too many backlinks on page 1, and make sure there's some conversion potential. Next, we learned how to create content that ranks. We want to use related keywords in our content. We want to optimize our content for featured snippets. Mention related entities in the content as well, and then make sure we're writing in a way where search engines can understand it. And then lastly, we want to make our content stand out. And we can do that using unique data, stats, and facts. We can include images and other media, make sure we're tying our articles to authors, and then lastly, have robust pages for those authors. So if you follow all these steps and you implement it, you too can get results that look something like this. Thank you for listening to me to ramble about SEO for the past hour. Appreciate it.
All right, we've got time for some questions, but does Jeff know his stuff or what? Jeff Oxford, everybody. So if you have a question, hop up to one of the microphones here in either of the aisles next to the main section, and we'll get through as many as we can. And don't forget to rank this session, review it. You can go into the app, give a quick review. It's 3 quick questions, and every session you review, you will be entered to win a ticket for All Access next year for Social Media Marketing World. So again, review every session as you go. So all right, let's start over here. You want to go ahead and ask?
Sure. Jeff, thank you very much. That was fantastic. So I know we're talking about this in the context of a blog, right?
Yeah.
I create content primarily on YouTube, 99% of what I do. How do these rules apply to titles, descriptions, and transcripts from videos?
That is a very good question. I'm not too familiar about YouTube's ranking algorithm. I know that's another animal. From my limited knowledge, is YouTube's more about retention and views. So I don't really know how much this would translate over. It's more like on-page content.
And the reason I ask that is I built my content so it's timeless and searchable, not only on YouTube, but on Google as well. So my goal is to rank top 5 in Google search.
Are you taking your YouTube videos and publishing it as content on a blog?
I will be, I'm not yet.
So that's like the only crossover is, ChatGPT is great for this, where you can like give it a transcript and say, turn this video into a blog post, and it'll like come up with like the heading structure. It'll kind of tweak the content a bit. So you can use that as a starting point, and then maybe you're adding images, maybe you're adding any stats. A lot of the stuff that I mentioned about optimizing it will still take place, but you can use the YouTube video kind of as the baseline to start your content.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, for those of you that are making your way out, if you can keep your voices down as we get through these Q&A, that would be amazing. Go ahead. You want to ask your question for Jeff?
Okay, so my short question is it better to keep an old website even if the content topics have shifted, or is it better to start a new website? So if as a human, I own a digital marketing agency, I'm also a speaker on high performance and happiness. And so I've had this one site that I've put everything on, but chances are I'm confusing Google on my topics. So is it better for me to stay where I am because I have 10 years worth of blog content that ranks-ish? Or is it better for me to say, hey, all of this happiness stuff needs to be over here and the marketing stuff needs to be over here?
The short answer is it comes down to backlinks. If you've gathered all these backlinks over time, that can be really hard to replicate. So if you have a very authoritative site, it may be worth keeping it all there. On the other side, like if the context completely changed, you're going after entirely different keywords, that also might make sense to have a separate site, because this is just an SEO tip for everybody. The broader topics you focus on your site and the broader topics you cover, the more diluted you are for any particular topic. So it's better to be hyper-focused on one thing than cover this whole range of topics. So you have to balance how many backlinks do you have, or how wide are the topics, and you'd want to use a tool like Ahrefs just to see, okay, how many backlinks do I have? If you have okay, I'll give you a short answer. If you have a domain rating above like 30, most often than not, stick with the old site. Otherwise, you really don't have much to lose, and you can start a new site.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's come over here.
Kind of along the same terms of that one, if you have blogs that you've written like 2-3 years ago, and maybe they're ranking-ish, but is it better to go back and rewrite them? Or is it better to write them like from scratch with the new
Great question. So don't change the URL. Don't write an entirely new post. Stay on that same one. Refreshing old content is probably one of the fastest and easiest ways to get lots of traffic to your blog. So go to that same article, update some of the images, add some new stats, maybe check your competitors to see is there sections of their content that they've added, and that makes, maybe it gives you ideas for things to add to yours to make it more comprehensive. Google has they had an update in 2016, there's like the freshness update, where they literally said the more changes you make to a piece of content, they're factoring that in as like an update, and it's more fresh. So if you make a bunch of changes to it, you can even get a temporary boost in rankings and traffic just from the fact that you changed it and it's more up to date. So there's multiple benefits, so don't worry about creating a new post. Use the same post and just update it, and that can work really well.
And how many blogs a week you think is a good number?
So a lot of people, I love talking about this. People always hear, SEOs love to say, oh, you got to create content, you got to create fresh content. And a lot of bloggers and a lot of business owners end up creating content just for the sake of creating content. It needs to be purposeful. I would highly recommend creating one awesome piece of content per month than 10 mediocre per month. So the stakes are higher now. Everyone's producing content. It's not just publishers and blogs, it's e-commerce sites, it's real estate agents, it's everybody. So for your content to stand out, it's way better to go all in on one amazing piece of content per month than just doing good enough content throughout the month.
That's a great tip. Can somebody write that down for me? I can't take notes right now. Quickly related to the date question, if how much does the date of publish on the blog matter? Because I see these blogs where it says updated more than a week ago instead of saying 5 years ago. Or like, does that matter at all?
Yeah, so changing one word to a synonym and saying updated yesterday, Google's smarter than that. Like I said, they have the freshness factor where they are looking at the portion of the blog post that was updated. So if it's just like a word, it doesn't matter. If you just change the date, you're not going to fool Google. They're crawling your site daily, weekly, if not daily. They can see what changed from one crawl to the next. So they know what changed. They're not putting any stock into the date. They're using their own assessment. So realistically, date doesn't matter. What matters more is how much content changed when it was updated.
So if you did an update, like you said, on the same URL,
yes,
you should change the published date.
I mean, you can, that's more for just it's more of a vanity metric for users.
Okay, that doesn't matter. Okay.
For search, if we're talking about ranking and search engines, Google isn't, they're not going to be fooled oh, this was updated yesterday, let's give it a bunch of rankings. No, it's looking more at how much was updated. Yeah.
Okay. So it'd be a separate notation, updated
Yeah,
February 19th.
it's still good to do. If you are if you're going to update your content, make sure you're making meaningful updates. And if you are making meaningful updates, then yes, update the updated byline on the article.
Okay.
Hi, Jeff. So that was amazing. There's some really great tips, content. I know exactly what to do. I'm curious in regards to backlinks, probably more from a strategy. It's something I haven't done much, and you gave a really great tip earlier. Say, it's probably a big question, so if you just give me a start point or a simplified version, if I've got, say, 20, 30 minutes a day, and I'm right, I'm going to work on my backlink strategy every day, 20, 30 minutes.
Sure.
What sort of things should I do or could I do?
Yeah, so if you're the one I mentioned earlier is a good starting point where, you can have a VA or somebody, even ChatGPT, to give you a list of 50 blogs, put into a web page, reach out, build a relationship, and then maybe the next month you ask for, pitch a guest post for them or pitch, promote a piece of content they might be interested in. That's one. Right now, statistic pages, anything about interior design statistics or fashion statistics, those pages, journalists love linking to them. So we've been seeing a lot of success creating these statistic pages and then promoting with the journalists and getting cited in different publications. So that's one that can work well. What kind of business are you in?
So it's a fitness education. So it's education on fitness, more for personal trainers than the general public.
Yeah, so I'd say statistics pages for content marketing, and again, relationship building followed by guest posts. I mean, realistically, guest posts is probably the most consistent way of getting backlinks. It's the most straightforward. Find these influencers in your space, build a relationship, and then just say, hey, I got some great ideas for content. I'm not a bot. This is my background. I'd love to put something together, and that can get you some backlinks.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love what you shared about creating statistics and just mentioned how valuable those are. As somebody who used to work in the media is always looking, preferably for an authority to link back to, but sometimes just a scapegoat. Like somebody says, "Where'd you get this?" And they go, "Oh, from here."
Yep.
Right. So can be very, very effective. Yeah. You want to go ahead?
Thank you, Linda Sherman, miracleofthesea.com. Skincare. We're generating more for the blog, and our founder loves writing really sciencey, show off all these fancy words things, and this is really going to help me push him with the concise sentences and everything. Thank you so much. For getting, you said generate a list of the top 50 blogs that are in your industry. What is the tool that I would use for that?
So if you you're in skincare, right?
Right.
I would go into Google. I would type in top skincare blogs. Chances are someone's doing a lot of the hard work for you. You can find a few lists, aggregate everything together, and boom, your research is done. So just piggyback off other people's work, and you can use that as a great starting point.
And those are the people we want to get attention from to maybe pick us up, is what I'm looking
so then you have your list of 50, and then you're just going to send a personalized email to each one. And you're not asking for anything. You're saying, hey, I've linked to you on my site. I'm giving exposure to your brand. So you're going to be met with a warm welcoming, and it makes it very easy. So the next time you ask, you already have that kind of friendship equity built up, and they're more likely to help you.
Thank you very much.
All right, you want to step up and go ahead and ask your question?
Hi, my name is Tamara. This is all super helpful. I'm kind of new
to
all of this. Yes, but my question was, is there anything to avoid when including unique stats and facts that would negatively impact the Google information gain score, since the unique facts may not be being searched as often?
So this is what's interesting. As long as the information you provide doesn't go against anything that's out there, maybe you're using Google Trends or one of those databases and you find like new information, or you do an industry survey. So if you put it out there and you put in your content and then like journalists start citing you, Google knows that you were the source of this information. So all the more there's this like powerful impact of like, not only do you have unique information, but you were the source of this information that other places are quoting, you're even more authoritative and you can rank even better. So as long as it doesn't contradict like the norm, you'll be fine.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
So much good stuff. I did take out my phone just to take a note really quick. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Rachel, East Media and Marketing. So my question is, when it comes to, you said to not use as many pronouns.
Yes.
So at what point does it become keyword stuffing, where it's...
Yeah, again, after everything I said, writing naturally always wins everything. Like you don't want to, like if it sounds weird, you've gone too far. So still write naturally, you know, it's more of a guideline. Like if you had to choose where you can use the object or the entity here without it sounding weird, go for it. But you don't want every sentence to start like vision board, blah, blah, blah. Your vision, like that's going to sound weird.
Would that impact my featured snippets? Because then it wouldn't pull the sentence that's
as long as the first sentence will have it in there, that's what's probably most important. So in your featured snippet, you know, for sure have it at least once, otherwise you pretty much have no chance of getting the featured snippet. But don't go overboard and like never use a pronoun, so it's like the most awkward thing to read. Like that might be too much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Jeff, just wanted to say fantastic presentation, learned a ton, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Another backlinks question for you. How would you say a PR strategy can go into building backlinks? I know obviously there's no follow links and stuff like that, but in 2024, is that still a potentially effective way to gain quality backlinks?
You got to be careful with digital PR companies, because a lot of them are literally just paying off contributors to get a link. It's almost 90% of online PR companies is just pay to play. They just have contributors that they'll give $800 to and they'll charge you $1,500. So be careful of that. Or a lot of times, if you're like an e-commerce store, they're going to ask for like a share a sell link or like an affiliate link, which doesn't help SEO at all. So it's really hard. It's super hard to find like a reputable digital PR company. If you wanted to incorporate elements of digital PR like in-house, I think the best example I could give is just like this, coming up with your own stats, data, incorporate that in your content, and trying to get that in front of journalists so that you can get natural links. Like that would work better than what most people are doing, where they're just paying contributors. So again, you know, look at data sets, you know, send email, you know, do a survey, industry survey to your list, whatever you can do to come up with unique data, and then pitch that data to journalists.
I guess a follow-up question to that is, so we are a digital marketing agency. We're, you know, I'm in product development. We could potentially build this out as a team, like internal PR for our clients, for example. What practices would, I guess if we were to use PR for a backlinks strategy for our clients, what best practices would you deploy in terms of reaching out to potential outlets or you know, press releases, stuff like that, to potentially get quality backlinks?
So, you know, we're an SEO agency too, and one thing we've had success with is literally for every client, one of the first things we do is we create a statistics page, which is like 78 interior design statistics or 78 fashion statistics, and just aggregate it all there, see who's linking to other statistics pages in your industry, and you can use Ahrefs or SEMrush for this. And then you say, oh, hey, I saw your link into the statistics page that was published 3 years ago. We have the latest statistics. You might want to consider updating your link. So that would probably be the best way. It's scalable, because that can work for any industry you can think of.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. Jeff has agreed to hang out in the hallway and continue to answer questions, so we'll wrap up formally in here. Don't forget, you can get the slides at 180marketing.com/SMMW. Review the session, please, in the app. And again, for Jeff Oxford.
Thanks, everybody.